All right. First rule of this channel is we do not talk about this channel. Second rule of this channel, this is not legal advice. So, news dropped today that Kyler Murray's window for coming off IR just opened up. Likely not going to play week 7. Probably trending 50-50, I guess, for week 8. Week 9, probably going to happen. And this is a little shocking to me, and this has a lot of ripples for fantasy football going forward. So, I don't know how many of you guys care. A little story time. I needed 5 points in week 14 last year when he tore his ACL, and I got like 0.5, missed the playoffs. And he's probably going to be the guy coming in to save my team with Anthony Richardson as the quarterback. Anyway, the contract situation going forward, I remember reading about this someplace, and I don't want to butcher it too much. You can see down here they have all these contract guarantees on the 5th day for injury. And I was reading someplace that if he gets injured again this year, at the end of this year, it basically fully guarantees the contract going forward. So I was really surprised that they went ahead and did this, and that may have to do with the Justin Fields injury. Justin Fields making it so the Bears would end up being the number one, get the number one pick, or the Panthers would end up getting the number one pick, and then the Bears would end up getting it. So either way, the Bears are still in line to end up with that first pick. And there's less of an incentive now for Arizona to try and tank for one of those picks. They probably could be scrappy enough to win a game or two. And with the undrafted rookie Tyler Bagent going in for the Bears, it's getting less and less likely that those teams will actually be able to win, where Arizona could at least get one or two more because they're, again, well coached. So Kyler Murray coming in, this is why it was all a surprise to me that they went ahead and activated him, because the best play would have been just to not let him play the rest of the year, take your draft picks, shop him if you can, and then it also allows you to get out from underneath that contract. And it's like his contract has the second most amount of guaranteed money behind Deshaun Watson's fully guaranteed deal. So that's why it's kind of interesting to me all this was going on behind the scenes. Now, from a fantasy perspective, I already have a trade in the works for Hollywood Brown. I'm sending Rashad White to a team that needs a running back this week. And I already like Hollywood Brown this year because of this target volume he's getting. 10 targets week 2, 10 targets week 4, 10 targets week 5, 11 targets week 6, all those air yards, another 7 against Dallas, 3 touchdowns. Very much in that wide receiver 2 range, and maybe a slight upgrade with Kyler coming back. Be aware that probably going to take at least a few weeks for Kyler Murray to get back underneath him, but this would be late season playoff push into the championship games down the line, and against teams that are likely going to give you the opportunity to win your championship. That's why I find this interesting going forward. Now, besides Hollywood Brown, the other guy to take a look at would be Michael Wilson, who's been a little disappointing since that boom week 4. So he might be a guy that would be easier to pry away from their owner in a redraft setting. In a dynasty setting, I don't think you're going to get a hold of Michael Wilson. Like, this probably would send his value through the roof. But from a redraft league, if someone still owns Michael Wilson and they're not thinking more than one step ahead, they wouldn't see the value of this guy going forward. So he's another guy that I would probably be looking up to get a hold of in my leagues if I can. And then finally, Trey McBride, and this is another interesting thing because Trey McBride and Zach Ertz just flopped with their usage this last week. And again, if they're gearing up to see see what they have with Kyler Murray going forward, getting a hold of a piece like Trey McBride a week early to see what goes on with him this week, with the last week that we can probably guarantee that Josh Dobbs will be out there, going forward into the first week or so with Kyler Murray, there's something going on, and this kind of explains it behind the scenes why that flop would have happened between Trey Murray and Zach Ertz. Kyler Murray coming on, and they want to see what they have in their young players. Hollywood Brown is in a contract year, if I remember hearing correctly. So again, him finishing out the season strong with Kyler Murray is going to be beneficial to him, whether or not he stays in Arizona. Now, the other guy, and this is kind of interesting. I remember someone asked me a question in the comments. I'm not expecting a lot of movement to go on within the trade deadline on the 31st for the NFL. I do plan on doing maybe a video on what if guys move around. Mecole Hardman was sent from the Jets to Kansas City. I don't think that really makes any difference from a fantasy perspective. Maybe a deep stash. But the other interesting thing about this would be if Zach Ertz is not in the plans for Arizona, he becomes a guy that I could definitely see being shipped. Now, I don't think he's got a lot left in the tank, but from a fantasy perspective, sometimes you're just dealing with the speculation of value. So getting a hold of that Zach Ertz, either because he's going to get shipped or because, he will be shipped one way or another, like that's something to be aware of going forward. And it also increases the value of James Conner going forward, because if this offense can go from bad or not good into the okay to good range, it's going to change the value of all players. And James Conner coming back off of injured reserve obviously would change his value going forward if they have a functional passing attack, and he can actually be that three down running back in a good offense with more scoring opportunities. So anyway, this is a short one. Just want to talk about all this stuff with Kyler Murray coming back. Hopefully you're stashing Murray and trading for pieces of this offense because they should be relatively cheap compared to the possibility of what they will give you down the line. Hollywood Brown, Michael Wilson, Trey McBride, even James Conner. Usually don't trade for injured players, but in this case, like, there may be a slight exception to it. So anyway, that's all I got for today, and maybe I'll figure out something tomorrow.